Hi, so this is part two of my psychotic episode, the story about my psychotic episode, or my real psychotic episode where I ended up in the hospital. So what happened was, so I was in the hospital being wheeled down a hallway, and I closed my eyes, and I started to see this infinity room, and I thought I was being pushed along this infinity pattern over and over and over again, and it was just looping. And I felt like I was never going to get out of it. That I was in this room that I couldn't get out of, that didn't have a door, that was just me being pushed along. And I ended up in this ward, and I was in this kitchen with these food heaters that were really loud, that were engulfing my sense of audition, my auditory sense of what was going on. And I remember going to bed, and I was really scared. I took a tiny peek, and I thought I was like, there was these LED lights like entering this disease into my eyes, and I thought I was inside an oven, um, because of these food heaters that were overwhelming me auditorily. Um, I thought I was inside an oven, and so I became catatonic, and I couldn't move. And my mom begged me to like say something, and I couldn't. I was frozen with fear, and um, my parents had to like bring me to the washroom to pee, and they put me back in bed. And the next morning, I remember like I was in psychosis, and I saw this spiral spinning around above me, and slowly the letters salvia uh, came just like one at a time, like these cartoony letters. It said Salvia. And I realized that I was in salvia-induced psychosis, withdrawing from Ativan, lorazepam, and fucked from this DXM that I had taken. And this Seroquel too was like an antidissociative drug. It's an antipsychotic. And so I remember like I had this erection, and I felt like I really needed to like rape someone or to like have sex with someone, because I was in this energetic form of like feeling really fucked up and like needing a release. And so I remember like I heard these voices telling me like not to move. And that night I was in this room, and I had this banana peel thing attached to me, like this like string from a banana attached to me, and I couldn't move. And I felt like the elevator was speaking to me with its beeps. And I remember thinking with my eyes closed, I took a tiny peek, and I saw this soap dispenser, and I thought it was a device that that was there to like um, I thought it was a projector that had projected my life into me from the time I was born. And I thought I had woken up in the Pentagon, and I was in hell. And um, so I realized I was in my like higher body in this Pentagon, and I saw I saw 5x, and I thought this was like programming. I was being programmed for salvia, and it went to like 25x, and it went by ratios of 5 to like 125x, 625x. And I was like, holy shit, I'm being programmed to smoke and go crazy on salvia. And my thinking was like really loopy, like it was going from left to right to left to right. And I was thinking in this loop, and the elevator kept like beeping, and I was communicating with the elevator. Um, So, um, I think I don't remember if it was the same night or if it was a different night, but I was in my bedroom and I thought like the radiator was a microwave that was like melting me, and um, I thought like I was gonna be like I was going to. I thought my bed was going to rise up and like the ceiling was going to open and I was going to be thrown into these gears and like these crunchers that would like make meat of me and like separate my bones and my legs and arms up. And so um, I remember having this little mini little trip where I was going through these like colorful areas, excuse me, and I met this woman, this female figure, and suddenly the process was interrupted, and I heard this voice in my mind, this demonic voice, like saying, "Oops, this trip is interrupted," and like I remember there was this fucking voice in me, in my mind, and I felt like it was being transmitted from the outside. And this voice was always tormenting me, always insulting me. It kept calling me a 3-year old, telling me like, "What's the matter? Can't you handle this?" And I remember like I couldn't decide things. It felt like every 10 seconds I would feel like I was 10 seconds away from death. And it felt like I was like about to die. And I thought the food had like this poison in it. The food and the juice had this poison in it, or the salvia in it, and that I would go crazy from like ingesting salvia. And so I remember being in the kitchen and like having to choose between different foods, and I was starving, but I only ate one pea at a time because I wanted to test this food to see if it was poisonous. And I remember thinking like the purple juice that I had, the grape juice, was like 80x salvia, and I tried it, and suddenly I felt like I was going insane, and I was so fucking scared. Like I felt like I was in hell. Like there was this like yellowish like tint related to being in hell, this yellowish orange tint, and I remember like suddenly like having to pick between food, and it was like circling around faster and faster, and my vision melted, and I saw this like skull melt. Like I saw this face in front of me like melting away, and I was like completely overloaded, and it felt like the neurotransmitters in my mind were like melting from excitotoxicity, from being like overly excited, um, and like firing too quickly. And I saw this face in front of me, and it was like melting, and the skin was like melting off, and the skull was just like melting into this puddle of goo. And fuck, I was scared. I felt, I in this psychotic episode, I felt like I had been raped. I felt like the hospital was like trying to make me, like secret forces were trying to make me more insane, and I was already holding on to like this little line connecting me to reality, and that was all there was this little line that was keeping me from hell and from utter insanity. And the hospital was just like trying to cut this line and make me fall into hell. And fuck, I was really scared. Like I couldn't even think. Like I felt like I was I had this like patch on my mouth where like I couldn't speak and I couldn't think and I couldn't express myself and I couldn't move, and I felt like I was going to be in hell forever. And fuck, I remember like there were different themes to each day. Like 3 weeks into it, there was a day called THC Day, where like I started laughing about everything, and I was laughing, and like it wasn't fun. I felt like I was laughing from going insane, and I started laughing at everything, laughing, I don't know, like at my food, at the way I moved, at the other people in the ward. And there was this other girl, Elizabeth, who was with me at the time. She was like also really scared, and she had peed on the ground. And I remember like towards the end of my stay, it lasted 2 months. And towards the end of my stay there, I gave her a hug, and she suddenly became really talkative. And, I was starting to get over what I had gone through. But honestly, I was so scared. I was outside yelling help from the time I left the hospital. I was outside yelling help every day cuz I knew that I was like being hijacked and being enslaved. And so for about a year I was really scared. I had these dreams. Fuck, I still have dreams about these kinds of things. Um the side effects from being there are still with me. And so that's my psychotic episode. I felt like I was going to lose my mind completely. And it was really scary. Like, I felt like I was being made into the king of insanity. You know, the fucking Satan's son. The most insane person in the world. That's what I felt like I was becoming. Thanks for watching. I might make more videos in the future, but for now, I think this is all I'm going to put on. Alright, peace out.